Guru Kripa. Om Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Sadguru Bhagavan ki Jai, Sachidananda Bhagavan ki Jai, Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai, Gita Mata ki Jai. Hari Om. So, Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, and we were discussing yesterday 58th sloka. Yada sangharate chayam kurmangāniva sarvasaha indriyāni indriyārthevyaha stasya prajñā pratisthitaha. When, like the tortoise which withdraws on all sides its limbs, he withdraws his senses from these sense objects, then his wisdom becomes steady. A man of steady wisdom. When the senses are withdrawn from the sense objects and centered in the center. Center means the Supreme Self, equanimity. Then he is called a man of steady wisdom. Withdrawal of the senses is called pratyahar, which we see in the Raj Yoga formulas, sutras, pratyahar. Before going to practice concentration, fixing the mind on one point again and again. Before that we have to withdraw the senses from the sense objects. That is called pratyahar. Ahar means the objects of the senses by which it enjoys. So we have to withdraw the senses from the sense objects. That is called pratyahar, and it is just like a tortoise whose limbs are withdrawn from outside and centered inside. Similarly, one has to withdraw the senses from the sense objects. Withdrawal of the senses is pratyahar or obstructions. The mind has a natural tendency to run towards external object. It is, everybody knows, it is practically seen everywhere. The yogi again and again withdraws the mind from the objects of the senses and fixes it on the self. A yogi who is endowed with this power of pratyahar can enter into samadhi even he is in a crowded place by withdrawing his senses within the twinkling of an eye. For example, we know the story of Napoleon, have you heard? Napoleon used to rest in the midst of terrific battle. When he is tired, he used to sleep for 5 minutes. This is a peculiar characteristic seen in the life of Napoleon, the world conqueror. This is how he regained his power, resting for a little while. And how can you rest? By withdrawal of the mind. That skill he had. And in yoga practice, we teach our little ones. In the yoga class, I always used to tell them how to relax in the Savasana pose. Just lie down and withdraw the mind from your body part by part. Make your toes relaxed. Think that you have no toes at all. And come to your knee. And think that you have no knees. Let it be free. Let it be free. Don't think of the knees. Similarly, withdrawing the mind from all the parts of the body and center the mind either in the sound Om, Anahat sound, or in your breathing system. Because children don't know what is self and how to fix the mind on the self. So it is easy to fix the mind in your breathing system. Anybody can do it. A small child can do it. So thereby you know the skill how to withdraw the mind from the body, senses, and fix it in one point. This is how Napoleon, the world conqueror, he used to withdraw his mind from the battlefield, in the battlefield, just like Arjuna. If it is possible for Napoleon, why not for Arjuna? Whose friend is the universal being, Lord Krishna. So, did you not know this fact? Napoleon's life.
No, but I do know one fact about Napoleon. He always used to say that he had a presence with him, watching over him, and that's where his greatness came from.
Yes, that is inner self, which is not understood by terms of words or anything, but he felt something is there which gives him courage and power. In this way, when one withdraws his senses from the outside world, from the sense objects, then his mind is centered in the self. By withdrawing his senses, he fixes the mind and rests. He who practices pratyahar is dead to the world. He is dead to the world. He will not be affected by the outside vibrations at any time by mere willing he can bring his senses under his perfect control. They are his obedient servants and instruments. Just as the horses in the cart, if they are under control, you can drive them and reach your target anywhere you can take them. If they are not under your control, there is a chance of accident anywhere and everywhere. This is how the senses should be controlled. And before pratyahar, we have to practice code of conduct, yama, niyama, and in that we have to have forbearance, titiksha, to keep the mind balanced in pairs of opposites, that is, in adverse conditions. Then it will be easy to withdraw the mind from these sense objects and fix it wherever you like. So this is how Lord Krishna gives the description of a man of wisdom, sthita prajna. Sthita prajna. Always we have to have the background of our mental process to understand this and to practice this, pratyahar. When the desires are there, beforehand he has told already, when there are no desires, then only you can withdraw your mind from the sense objects, or else if the desires are there, the senses become turbulent. That will be very difficult to fight with the senses. Desires are the root cause, and desires are caused by the attachment to the sense objects. Attachment is caused by repetition of association with the sense objects. So all these from the root itself you have to practice, where the mind is going, what is it doing, and unnecessarily your energy is being wasted and nothing is achieved. So with this understanding and practice of yama niyama, practice of balancing the mind by good conduct, and then practicing a steady posture of the body, because we know all the works of the person goes on by the cooperative triangular society. Body, prana, and the fourfold mind with ego. So, if the body, gross body is not under control, then it becomes very difficult. And after controlling the body, that is steady posture, non-movement of the body, if you have achieved that, then you can try for the steady breathing system, rhythmic and steadiness of the breathe, prana, that is called kumbhak. And when Raja Yoga chapter comes, we shall discuss elaborately about this kumbhak and breathing system. And after controlling the breathing system, then it becomes easy to control the mind. Because two are under control, body and prana. So naturally mind comes under control. And then pratyahar starts. You have to withdraw these senses from the sense objects again and again. It is just like the cow tied up in a peg in a grassy field. It will go grazing all round as far as the rope is extended. Beyond that it cannot go, or else it will get away. So the cowherds, they tie up the cow in a grassy field in this way. And other example we can take the kite. चली चली रे पतंग मेरी चली रे पतंग. It goes as far as it can, but the sting is in the hands of the boy who is flying the kite. It cannot go by its wish. It has to be withdrawn by the boy who is flying the kite. Similarly, we should have the whip to control the horses. The whip is withdrawal. No, you cannot go there. Come on, come back. The rules and regulations, that's how in the very beginning it is said to practice code of conduct. When your character is purely under control, then you can control the mind easily. Now he says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The objects of the senses turn away from the obstinate man, leaving the longing behind, but his longing also turns away on seeing the Supreme. Though we have seen all these process to control the mind, yet there is a tendency beforehand which we have cultivated by our long-standing habit to think of the sense objects and easily to invite the sense objects and entertain with them. Our senses have no control at all. They have the habit to go out anytime, anywhere, without your information. These children, 2 days back, I banged them without telling me. They went to Bazaar market. The market was closed, yet they went, 3-4 of them, and wandering habit, without informing me, they went. And when they came back, before going to sleep, I asked them and punished them because they have got that habit, wandering, without informing me. They went away and passed about 4 or 5 hours. Their students, they, without informing and not attending to their homeworks, they are wandering aimlessly, simply gossiping and chit-chatting and see, this is very bad habit. This is how our mind and intellect, our senses are not under our control. They, without any information, they go out and entertain with the sense objects. So we have to control them by practicing yama, niyama and asana, pranayam, pratyahar. Pratyahar, withdrawal of mind. And yama niyama means it has to understand and practice for a long time. That is, in one word, we can say code of conduct to control the habits, outgoing habit of the mind. So, he says, Visaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. There is a longing to go out, a tendency that is cultivated long before, since long before. So that is very hard to control. So what happens in the case of a steady wisdom? This side, there are two sides. One is outgoing extrovertness of the mind, outgoing tendency of the mind and senses. The other side is withdrawal of it. So there is always a friction. And if you have little control over the outgoing tendencies, then what happens? If the senses with the mind, they taste the bliss of the self, which is unparalleled, uncomparable, then having seen that, having tasting that bliss, the senses with the mind, they will not go outwardly to enjoy with the sense objects. They naturally get withdrawn by themselves, and they would like always to enjoy the bliss of the self. So that is what he explains here. The objects of the senses turn away from the obstinate man, leaving the longing behind. But his longing also turns away on seeing the Supreme. Both sides, it has the tendency now. Long before, habitual tendency was extrovertness. And now, once it has tasted the bliss of the self, it will long for the taste of the self, not of the sense objects. That longing should be diverted. It should be turned towards the self. In this way, when the mind and senses are withdrawn by itself, enjoying the bliss in meditation, in samadhi, the mind becomes steadfast in samadhi, it enjoys the bliss of the self and it remains steady. In this way, one who has done all these, his wisdom is called steadfast wisdom, steady wisdom. He is called a man of steady wisdom. स्थित प्रज्ञा उसी को कहा जाता है. ही इज कॉल्ड स्थित प्रज्ञा. विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोप्यस्य परम दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इंद्रियाणि ब्रह्माथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः. Again he is warning. These senses are very turbulent, most dangerous. They are your friend when they are under control. They are your enemies when they are out of control. The senses in you, they are your friends, they are your enemies. He says, the turbulent senses, O Arjuna, do violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he be striving to control them. These senses are most dangerous. To control one habit, wrong habit, it takes whole life. We think we can control our bad habits easily. It is not so. As long as this mind is there, all these 6 negative qualities, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Machariya, all these, they are ever present in a mind. As long as mind is working, all these 6 negative qualities, they don't give up the chance to take you away and put you in a ditch. At the same time, we have to carefully practice just the opposite ones to weaken these bad qualities and strengthen the good qualities, just opposite of it. For hatred, you have to practice love. For anger, you have to practice peace and love for others. In this way, how to be careful, Lord warns him while explaining the qualities of the wise man. He is warning also how turbulent are the senses. The aspirant should first bring the senses under his control. The senses are like horses. If you keep the horses under your perfect control, you can reach your destination safely. Turbulent horses will throw you down on the way. Even so, the turbulent senses will haul you down into the objects of the senses and you cannot reach your spiritual destination. That is Param Dham, the supreme abode, or the abode of eternal peace and immortality of or moksha, the liberated state. That is your destination, the absolute steadiness of mind and peace, silence. And when the senses are turbulent, they are not under control, there is every chance you may fail in your spiritual attempts. So who has Tani sarvani sanjamya yukta asit tat matparaha vasehi yasyendryani tasya prajna pratisthita. One who has controlled all these senses. That's how he gives the ferociousness of the turbulent senses. Tani sarvani sanjamya, controlling all those senses with mind, yuktaha, controlled, asita matparaha, one who is always fixed, his mind is fixed on me. Me means Lord Krishna, the universal truth. Vasehi yasyendryani, one whose senses are under control, tasya prajna pratisthita. He is called a man of wisdom, a steady wisdom. Having restrained from having restrained them all, the senses, he should sit steadfast, intent on me. Mai sthitaha. And then only his wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. A wise man will never act such actions which will be against even a single being. That's how he said, it is said, Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Such a person of steady wisdom, whatever he does, it is in favor of all the beings. It is not against even a single being, whether it is human being or the animals, birds, insects, or even he will not pluck a single leaf from a tree without any purpose or not giving trouble, harming the tree. Shall I tell you? We were talking of Vedas in the beginning. Vedas we have the example of supermarket. Everything is there in the Vedas. Whatever you need, you can get it. So how to pluck a leaf, how to pluck a flower, there is process described in the Vedas. There are mantras. Even to collect the herbs, there are particular time, and at that time the plants, the herbs will not be much disturbed, and even then you have to go to the plant. The plant is a being, and you are collecting the herb for some purpose, for your selfish need. So, of course, maybe to help others, but you are going to harm the herb. So, you have to stand there with folded hands. There are some mantras. You have to chant those mantras. The mantras has the meaning. You should pray the herb as a being, living being, and beg excuse, take permission from him, and then you may uproot it and worship it. Take permission, and then with its permission you can uproot it or take some flowers or leaves or the branches for the medicine purpose. That is the way to collect the herbs. Even nowadays we are using toothpaste, but our custom was not toothpaste. Our social custom was in the morning you have to wake up and collect some sticks from the plants and use them as brush. Bite it, and by your teeth you have to make it brush-like and then rub it. It has got medicinal properties and it helps your mouth, the teeth and the gums, everything. It protects it. So to collect those sticks, there are mantras. Such is our perfect custom. It is led in the Vedas. Everything, every action you should do with awareness, without harming any being around you. You have to lead your life. Such was our olden customs and traditions. Even to pluck the fruits from the trees, you have to take permission from the trees. When you harvest your crop, we do puja. And while sowing the seeds in the field, we do puja.
They also sing Swamiji.
Yes, we worship the ground, the soil, mitti, and we worship the seeds, and with the prayers we start fast. Here till now there is custom. The villagers go to village god first, and it has got some plots, and they will all together do transplantation of paddy first there with puja, and then they will go to their personal fields and start transplantation. So everywhere you have to be very careful to control your mind and your habits. Then only it becomes possible in the end with a controlled, systematic habits. When you build up a pure character, then only you can go to practice yoga. So anybody can do some postures and they say, and sit for meditation, and they say we are meditating for 4 hours, 8 hours, and as a result, they come and ask some silly questions to me. Swamiji, these are our problems. Please solve our problems. Silly problems. You sit for 4 hours, 8 hours a day for meditation, and yet you have problems. How it is possible? 8 minutes of meditation is enough for 1 month. No problems. Your mind will have no problems at all. So what he says, when the senses are under control, he should control the senses and sit focused on me as the Supreme. Me means, Lord Krishna says, me means the Supreme One, the Self. With a calm mind, the wisdom of the yogi who thus seated has brought all his senses under subjugation, is doubtless quite steady. He is established in the self. Sri Shankaracharya explains, Asit matparaha. As Asit matparaha means he should sit contemplating, I am no other than he, the Supreme. Aham Brahmasmi, the highest words of the Vedas. Contemplating on that, he, after controlling the senses, mind, he should sit calmly, fixing the mind on me, thinking I am the absolute truth, and his mind becomes steadied, and then he will be taken as a steady wisdom, man of steady wisdom. ध्यायतो विषयान पुंसः संगस्तेषु उपजायते संगात संजायते कामः कामत क्रोध अभिजायते. Now, having given the descriptions of the Sthita Prajna, man of steady wisdom, whatever he has said beforehand, he is explaining what happens when the senses are extrovert and they are not under control. What happens to the person? He threatening you, warning you, and he is reminding you again and again, advising you, giving all the technical process how this mind becomes extrovert and in the end creates loss to the person, so much loss. Every moment the mind creates some problems and the man is ever engaged in solving the problems. What to speak of fulfilling the desires and enjoying a little? We have no time to enjoy our sense objects because we are ever engaged in solving our problems. On the other hand, it is said, life is a problem. Whole life is a problem only. Our time is ever lost by solving the problems. If one is solved, the other is raising its head. My dear, I am here. So tomorrow we shall see what happens to the mind when, how it becomes extrovert and what is the process. If you know it, then you can control it step by step. And the process should be known. And the result of this harmful process should be understood, then only we will try to control the mind and senses. So tomorrow we shall see the process, how one goes to the ditch, how one falls into the ditch, how the senses go away, out of our control, and accidents happen. Hari Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Sachidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om.